Okay.
Ready?
All right. Hey, hello everybody. This is Tim Kelly from our studio, Master Photo Techniques channel, and we love being here with you. Today, I've been asked to almost recreate or replay a recent appearance I did, a slideshow, if you will, called A Life in Portraits. And that is kind of my story, is what it is, from the beginning of me doing fine photography or getting serious about it, and into the work that I do, and all through the graduations of different levels, different studios and such. At this point, we're just introducing it, but it could be an hour long, so we'll see. But I did want to let you know that this was a very super well-received program in person, so I hope it does come out that way on video as well. We're going to take you now through my slideshow, A Life in Portraits. Hey, welcome to the video version of this slideshow, which was a big hit. I'm going to take you through my Life in Portraits, or Life of Portraits is what I aptly named it, because it is my entire life. Photography's been it, but portraiture, like this piece of art, is my true goal. That's what I'm trying to do all the time, create a beautiful, artistic imagery using my camera, light, and it was darkroom. Now, of course, it's a digital darkroom. What I'm going to share is what we call the signature black and white, which is the finest of the finest that we could produce. This beautiful mother-baby picture is still one of my favorites, though it's probably 20 years old at this point. It just had everything going for it. It was real. This was shot on 8x10 film, a very purposeful image of a man and an illustration. He actually had a bad red eye on one side, so that's why we did the profile. A beautiful family portrait. Again, this is my signature work. Very beautiful, natural looking light, but of course it's not. It's all studio light. And then outtakes, another of my favorite elements, especially with children. I do it with families too. But when I have kids, I look for those moments that are going to live on forever, and this would be one. A beautiful and touching portrait of a grandpa with his latest grandchild or great-grandchild. I don't recall anymore, but he taught me a lot because he came to the studio with the intent of making one image. This also was a large format black and white image capture, done very quickly. 5-minute session. We were actually working on his daughter's, young 4-year-old daughter's portrait session. This one done in a seminar, I believe here in Florida, and just the kind of thing that has more feel than technique. It's important to know how to grab these important moments. This image was done in my upstairs studio. I'll bet it's 25 years old now. My Kelly beige background in my full, I would call it broad light, so as to have a nice body shaping. Definitely a classic. This bride as well, a real bride, done in a number of classic ways, but this one became the favorite because she was looking away. Beautiful hand pose and beautiful mood and lighting. Love this one. This one was done an executive portrait, needed for business purposes, but he came in with his wife and nudged him to take out his toy from his pocket, which was a pair of optometrist glasses, and they were so cool. I just did 4 sheets of 4x5 film and loved it, and it was an award-winning image. Here's just a tiny little session of not a session, but a pullout from a family session. So literally this image was made in probably 60 seconds as part of the warm-up, I think, for these, because his hair is neat. It's probably early on in the session. This one was also done in a studio, in our studio. It is about 25 years old. A real flower, a real mood, beautiful composition, and if you'll notice, the same lighting. Another one from a teaching situation, and I did this family, and we did breakouts. And I just love the composition and the mood. The brother-sister portrait here. People always ask me why I cut off fingers or I just leave pieces in. It's because they're unimportant to me. I know where I want you to look. In this one, a father-daughter, practically an outtake, a warm-up image for a group family portrait, and broad light on the little girl. Came out just so nice, and it was not what they came in for. They came in for color, but they got that. Another moving image made on, I think this would have been digital, standard hi-fi digital color capture, but it looked so good in black and white, and the mood was great. A maternity picture, of course. I don't do a lot of them. Back then I did more. This one was called Soon, and it was an award winner. It was actually a gallery award winner. Kodak Gallery Award. And again, it's just my same lighting style on a modeled David Mayhew background. This, of course, is an outtake. This was a family came in from California for pictures here in Orlando. And this was just a get the kid to smile moment and kind of, break the ice. And it has been one of the most memorable images for them, and I love it too. This one, father and son, part of a family portrait session. And this one always became special. I love the lighting, I love the seriousness of the clothing, and I love the hand position all the way around. This is a funny one actually. This young lady brought her 3 boys in for portraits. She was not to be in any. But when I noticed how good looking she was and she was wearing a black outfit, I had to ask to do a black and white portrait of her. And I love the square composition. Here are some color portraits now. I love them just as much, but I'd say my main forte is the black and white. But color has to be mastered as well, and I think this does it. Studio image. Part of a bigger session, but just one outfit. So we really studied on that outfit. Here's another image from the same shoot in a bit richer color with a little bit of artistic work on the borders and the edges technique, just making second layers and distressing them and blurring them and this and that. I love this one. Also, from a bigger session of 3 brothers, which was highly successful. This particular lad looked best lit from the opposite side I usually work, and that made it intriguing to me. I do both sides, of course, but this particular boy looks so good. This image of 3 girls, 3 sisters I'd done before, was a winner at many, many, many levels, magazine covers and all that kind of thing. But here's the real story regarding it. The situation was with the high-key dresses, they were certain they wanted a high-key portrait. I did all the high-key portraits that I knew, a lot of different poses and arrangements and lighting, but none of it made me go, wow. So I just changed to the classic garden background, shot in this key, and home run after home run. That was the winner. This was similarly a ballerina who are done many ways. They come in usually wanting to do the lacing up type shots, but this one looked really better just as the student, just simple at camera. Mr. Bill Branson did an illustration for him. I don't know, I think we were in a class and I did that portrait for him that he'd used for many, many years. a beautiful portrait session for a young lady. She was actually not a model, but modeling for me so I could do a tests collection, full setting, kind of a beauty shoot. And we ended up with a lot of gorgeous, gorgeous images, a lot of face images. But that one really got me, the 3/4. This one, also a 3/4 of the child. And this is so pensive and beautiful looking, but this little girl was quite the terror to me at that time. She'd sit down for about 4 seconds and leave, and then run around the building, come back and sit down again. But we got it. The brother and sister you saw earlier in black and white, this is from the same family shoot, modeling for a class of mine. This image was commissioned to be a large canvas portrait. And it was kind of the, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years old, coming of age kind of thing. And we did it in the studio with the intent of a wall portrait. So it had to be longer length and classic. We used a background called High Seas, and hard to find background, but we love it and use it often. This was actually a test image, one of the very first ones I did for Kodak. When the Kodak Pro back came out, it was a square digital back for a Hasselblad. Love the image though, always loved the image and the beauty of Kodak color science. This one also another commissioned portrait for a large piece, hence the extra space. Just sisters, beautifully dressed, and it was to be a large vertical canvas piece. Love the lighting, especially love the mood and all the interaction of the body parts. A family in the studio, super simple, practically a holiday shoot, but classic lighting and great posing will get you something that deserves to live on, to be on the wall as well as shared widely. This was done in the client's home. It is our studio setup. It is a early gray muslin background, and we had great images from the shoot, but this one, it was all going to come crashing down any second as she leaned on a background that was not attached to any wall. This simple portrait, when it's simple, it has to have everything right about it, but it is the money shot. It is the one that people want. 3/4 length portraits are say so much more than a headshot, and they have to be done really, really well. So the lighting must be really spot on, and the design as well. Here's a nice large family that I did on location in their home, even with 10 kids or however many they had there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the time. They now have 10. Beautiful portrait done on location in their home, just with my softbox lighting. This was a piece of a larger group that you're going to see here. We did each group separately with the intent to stitch them all together and make a grand family group so that they could sell both individually and get grandma her dream picture, which was this one. Quite a stitch job, but it's all planned out in advance as far as who's going to be where, and each subgroups is done individually so that they can have their own. Not everybody wants or has room for this giant portrait. I love this of the two boys, just brothers, doing my simplest test shots. That's what I call them, to get them to participate. And so agreeably, barefoot, beige, white, beige background. Really one of the most common things I've ever done that continues to sell to this day. This one was on location with studio setup, and I do keep little things like sticks of flowers and such for this. And I love the red hair. We did the entire 2 or 3 girls, but this one always stood out to me as a special one. So let's take a look at my journey as a professional image maker. Part of the journey is really to earn the degrees and such, and I did that with great joy.
It was a great sense of accomplishment. At this point, I have received all the major degrees that I had set my goals for. I started back in basically 1968, being very, very serious about my photography and my portraiture. And I think the way you see things never really changes. So you'll notice a lot of similarity in my work, old and new. I was a wedding photographer back in 1973, 4, 5, and then some. And going to the bride's house with my big format camera, or my medium format camera. I also then moved to Florida, opened my own studio in '74. And it was a little one, and that's just my work room, my lab, my copy room. And I'm using the Mamiya TLR at that point. In my studio in Florida, around '83, I had a much bigger commercial calling, and I was using larger formats, doing food photography, product photography, as well as my portraits. But I hadn't, at this point, become portraits only. So even doing a portrait on location, this was for a big bridal canvas, shooting it on 4x5 film. This was the darkroom at that time. It was actually an upstairs darkroom, and it was all, crowded into the space. I had plenty of other rooms, but the lab contained everything from cutting and mounting to retouching. A little later on, receiving more degrees from our state of Florida, and as well as the national would be coming along shortly. The master's would be next. This was a self-portrait, 1990. That, my friends, is an 8x10 view camera, which I was starting to use more and more often for just extremely beautiful black and white image mostly. This is my Gowlin Flex, which is a 4x5 camera. Still use it to this day. And on it, my favorite was this film you're looking at, PN55, though that's not around anymore, so I just use regular Kodak sheet film. 1993, we began faux digital. It is actually film synced up with high-speed image capture, video image capture. It was a system from Kodak. When I went on location, I would bring my own contraption, which had a film camera, a Hasselblad, and a newfangled digital camera that I synced together so that I could have a digital version right away, even before the film was developed. And this was a promo headshot around that time. Oh, to be young again. Oh my goodness. And this one was actually done by another professional photographer who was on collecting images of artists for a book, which came out back in '96, '97. And that was done by him, Available Light. This was done by my friend Gregory Daniel, also Available Light. I love Available Light images. I like to just create my own Available Light. That's the difference. I want to be in control. Hate it when the sun hides away. A Candid from Italy in 1996. Just some of the things we've used over the years for promotion. This one also in Italy on another trip, 2003. And just really just a snapshot, either by my wife or by a traveling partner. And I really liked it and used it for a good long time. This was done by Gregory Daniel again, on a trip we took together. We were in Texas somewhere. And he saw it. He thought it was a good idea to have me in a Kodak shot because they were my sponsors. And I really appreciated that. This was done in our studio, 2006, after winning yet another, just a promotional piece, because I won another gallery award, or Gallery Elite Award, for my work. And there they are, there's a couple of them. I ended up with 3 Gallery Elites and 33 Gallery Awards over those years. Candid, done by, I think, Greg or somebody else in a workshop that we were doing together, or a sharing meeting we had. It was my crazy hair days and granny glasses. This is in London. It was taken for me as a promo image, and I used it a little bit for some of the workshops and seminars, but there's no huge lack of variety in here. It's also done in London, around the Abbey Road area, favorite place of mine, and I like the image. So I used it for a little while. This was done in the studio, really just doing seminars on film and showing some of my film cameras. It's still, the heart of me is film. I like analog everything. This was a candid shot in my studio doing portraits of the, all my portraits were done here, and this is just from where my camera was taking it from. This was done as a test shot for a video cover. This was not to be it, but this image actually did make it into some fine art forums and actually became a permanent museum piece. This was also an image made on film for some promotional work I was doing. It was like an unintended image, but I liked it, so I use it. This was the intended image, a high fidelity black and white, and it truly is. It's a very large format, showing my this is my current 8x10 camera for portraiture. And I still do film even now. There's a motorized Hasselblad, 2013. I still love using this as often as I possibly can. Gallon Flex, this portrait was made for me. We were doing a little video, actually, a promo video, and this was pulled from it. Kind of had me and my creative spark and the Gallon Flex. And the Hasselblad again, that's really where my heart's at with photography. I still love it. I realize you have to go pretty big format to match some of today's fidelity, but this was done by Tim Meyer at one of the museums where my piece was on display. I thank him for a good candid. This was the show, Portraits Americana. It's a permanent collection in that museum, my piece is. Here's our teaching history. Give you a little bit of an overview here. This is the museum show, the one that Tim Meyer captured that picture of me and my wife, but also just one that I could use for promotion. It was one of my goals all my life to have something in the museum. Conventions and lectures, I did heavily for nearly 30 years. I was on stage, teaching workshops, seminars, and of course, stage programs. And I loved it. But nowadays I don't do as many. This is a workshop in my studio. So you can see from this, my lighting, it's transitioned a little bit, but the end goal is the same. This is with one of my video guys, Xander, who also can work in my sound room as well for the audio. And the Master Photo Techniques on YouTube is why we're making these shows and videos. And that's what that interface looks like. We hope you'll check it out if you haven't, or you must be now, I guess you found us here. So we're trying to keep on adding movies, though it is difficult when you're a busy image maker. So we were teaching some classes on small lighting, small portable lighting. I was excited to try recreating my style on Godox lighting, small portable lighting. And it worked very well. So I started even taking it on location. All that gear of old was getting just too heavy for me anymore. So moving into the small portable lighting, and again, I used the Godox, I was much happier to do that. This beautiful portrait was also made in a Godox setup. Love that new background. That's a Tim Kelly gray, dark gray, by David Mayhew. And this image was made in my small studio for a singer, vocal coach, producer, a friend of mine, and he loved it. He loved this image. This was part of a regular paid client session, and we happened to video it as well. So there's a video of the girl in the red dress who also was the young ballerina, 15 years earlier. Here we are shooting on 8x10 film. Just love it. You don't shoot a lot of it, so you give it a lot of attention. So you can understand why, at the expense that it is. Here's our lighting, which hopefully we'll see some changes around, but this is my classic setup. I'd have 2 soft boxes, 3x4, 4x6, a big reflector panel, a couple of kick lights. One would also usually be used for hair, and a grid spot, very important to my system. This is the lighting diagram that would be normal for me for 30 plus years after I designed the lighting, which I had done in my upper studio around mid to late 80s. This shows you part by part, main light, adding the fill light, which is in a very different place. A lot of people are taught to put it in the front near the camera or over the camera. And my attitude is I want everything coming from the same direction. The hair light, if needed, is there to separate from the background. Depends if separation is needed. The background spot, that is where we have a grid. We always have a grid, whether it's a Godox, photogenic, or a new LED light. The gobo protects some of the close items from the closest people and their clothing from being overblown. So it is a gentle, like below the waist kind of tool, which you'll see coming up. And here's a reflector panel as needed to send some of that light back into the image to soften the shadows. It's wonderful to see this in real life, how it does its job. And we have these lighting diagram cards that we would give out at every place we teach. And it became very, very popular, almost the most popular lighting setup for some time. And then if we flip the light, as you saw this boy earlier, we flip the lighting around. This is the modifications needed to make it work. And this is it from the reverse side. Now the main on the right and a gobo to protect. The fill light is now used to light the background. The hair light if needed, grid is always needed. Here's just some senior portraits done on my patio. On purpose, we have some areas pre-tested for mostly available light, though we do bring a reflector out, we bring a diffuser out, we'll bring a light out if we need it, but a lot of those were done natural. This is in studio, just a high-key rendering of a very cool subject. A high school senior in what I would call an outtake, a laughing shot. It's kind of nice. This was in one of my smaller locations using the classic garden background. I love the color key on this. I had a chair that matched her top, and the background in the back, hand painted by David Mayhew, gave me this beautiful monochromatic feel. And then we have the window light images here that were so very popular. We used the spot over and over for our senior girls, a little black dress shot by window light, which is fake window light. This was done in the studio in normal course of a study. We just try every kind of lighting, what's the most flattering, but it's going to be about the face and getting the intensity of the expression. And in some cases, the extra mood and probably the fun shot as well, if I remember, because it usually goes with it, to have all the different views. This was from that same family that modeled for me, and love it. This is a very nice color face image or a headshot. The thing is, because she has long hair, you have to keep a lot of space. Another senior, as all these are, part of a big mega session where you're shooting 200 frames, maybe doing 10 different arrangements. But I'm always looking for that intensity. This one became a book cover for me. It was very, very successful, very happy customers with big purchases, and it ended up being used by Amherst for one of my books. This is just that outback, natural light, maybe with a reflector kind of feel, offset composition, and black and white interpretation. Love this one, also done in the studio, done with a small piece of a muslin background I had, very small, but it ended up being really great for all the guys in their low-key shots. This wild thing is actually just shot in front of his Hummer outside with a big diffuser, making the sunlight more controlled. But I thought it was super cool. It's not what I usually do. This is a color version of the same gal who was on the book cover, part of her shoot, and that's where that series gave us that beautiful black and white. Now here is a senior portrait session. I love this. This is a hair blowing shot. We've used fans before, but my favorite, if you've seen any of my other videos, is really just to use a round reflector and just kind of create a little wind. They don't all come out good, but you know, many do. This is a typical young lady casual on the beige, sitting on a box. Some smiley, some looking at the camera. Now she's got a nice dress on and real flower. We brought real flowers in for her. She had a big senior shoot, lots of outfits. Sometimes it takes a while to get the mood that you want. And as the hour clicks on, and this one might have been 2 hours long, she gets more comfortable and you get better stuff. Same can be true with guys as well. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. This is another David Mayhew muslin creation. Now we're into the formal, the same dress, but on the full garden, classic garden background, a real beaut. And the flowers were all brought in by her parents, and I used them. I used them and created some really nice things for them. That would be a lot of investment for me to take a shot at having on hand. I mean, you could have silks and fakes and stuff, but these were all real, delightful to work with. And this one was a real pretty little outtake. Kind of painted it out a little bit because it was cute, but it was so tight. It was just a, you know, basically a test shot, but I liked it, so I saved it. From this series, just different moods, looking for the ones that are the home run. And sometimes it takes many shots, and sometimes there'll be 5 images from the same sequence that people will buy. We did go outside, something I don't usually do unless it's a really big customer. Chair in the weeds is not my style, but I can do it. And I don't usually like walking out there here in the Florida summer heat. Here's another recent session. This is my favorite setup for starting. My Kelly beige background. It's a muslin, and I start right there. Depending on the size of the child, they can stand next to, they can sit upon, they can sit next to mom or grandma, whoever, and I can erase that other adult if I need to, if they need the security. Here I'm building her pose, her confidence, getting the details right. Test is probably made by my assistant Curtis. I pop out and I get exactly what I want and what the customer wanted as well. I love these poses. This is obviously a very good child, really presented well, great attitude, some motion stuff I like to do. Can make a nice action panel, multi-pose panel with these moving shots. It's pretty common to sell at least 3 of these little action shots. So cute. There are, of course, a lot of bad ones when you're doing this, but if you shoot 20 images, you're going to have a half a dozen really cute ones. And they liked it. It's an enjoyable process. Now we're setting up the next famous pose, which is over the back of the chair. Always, always works. Here's the image that we want. And though I want the more pensive ones myself, we have to get the smiley ones for mom and grandma sometimes. Yeah, I like the at camera always is my first choice. This I'm liking a lot more, that she's more relaxed. She's moving her hands around, doing what fidget the way she wants to fidget. Love this. Apparently there's a little bit of a more reflector underneath this one to be more, fashiony and modern. Now we're sitting in the other chair, sitting in the same chair that we were leaning over, trying to multitask everything. And there's the mom sitting in for one or two. It's always a good sale. And Grandma was there too. She went into one of the shots, maybe two. And of course, it's a sale every time. So we make it a point of not only doing outtakes, but doing these kind of souvenir portraits, even though they were not the primary assignment. This customer's been in before, perhaps with a previous child, and they know they can jump in and get some on this visit. And they do. Here's portraits on location. A lot more work, but sometimes they want the ambiance. Sometimes they want a studio style just for their convenience. Love this one, done in the home of two doctors and their kids. The two boys in the middle are twins, and they were hellraisers. They were tough to work with ever since they were little. Here's a family outside of the home because it was a nice day and we wanted to fit everybody in. And they chose the clothing and everything. Not my first choice, but that's what was in that year. Here's a beautiful family outside of their home at late afternoon. It looks natural, but there's like 3 lights as well as the backlight of the sunshine. Every pose had to be perfectly sculpted. This is kind of an outtake from a location session. These are triplets, and they're moving down the stairs to another location, and this was just snapped because it was kind of illustrative. This beautiful assignment was to do this one beautiful mom, a young mom, in a full portrait coverage. And this is actually an outtake when we were getting set up and she's getting worked upon. This was near the end when she was casual. And we love this with a cup of coffee. I can get used to that myself. Beautiful casual portrait. In between, we did a lot of different looks. Classic, old school, black and white, which they absolutely loved, and I do too. It's kind of, again, my forte. Very happy to do this and a few others like it. This was just a kind of a sober, classic image, beautiful, with her Bible. And we were able to turn this one into a gorgeous painting. Took a lot of work to make the changes, but this is one of the iterations. I did one with the flowers. I used my back porch scene as the background, put the flowers in there, and I was then told, well, she's allergic to flowers, so she would never do that. So we went back to just the painted background and a little bit of dimension from the old back porch. This was close to the final version of the painting that we did. And worked on it many times and got it to be exactly, now we have some flowers. It's kind of a compromise right there. And I think it worked out beautifully. So here's the final portrait and framed. It was really quite a delight to do it, and she ended up with a portrait book, a collection of like 20 different beautiful portraits with a lot of variety. Here's another painted portrait I did. This would have been about 18 years ago, for I just did this girl's senior portraits this year, 2024. Love this one. Here's some bridal images that we've done. There's not as big a call for formal bridals as there once was when I was young, but I still make a point of doing them and showing them. This was a very glorious, large portrait, beautiful fidelity. I think it was originally about 36 inches high. Again, as I always do, make some great black and whites of this young lady. And of course, nowadays I do all her children, which is such a delight. Beautiful black and white portraits of her. This actually is her sister. I've done all the girls in this family in their portraits. In fact, one of my videos in 2011 was based on the other sister in the group. This is number 3. Beautiful, basic, Kelly lighting, Kelly background. Super simple. You just see the beautiful form and face. Nothing distracts you. Another bridal with some beautiful black and whites. Again, going for the classic 50s, 60s, 70s kind of look there. Of course, she had plenty of modern imagery too. This is Nicole, the girl that we saw earlier that did the 20-picture album as a bride. And it was a beautiful, beautiful session. And we videotaped some of that, not in any great scale, but there's something of it. And this is the high seas background with Nicole in her bridal setting, real flowers and beautiful jewelry. And this is another bridal. This was pretty big too, a very large portrait. And this dress really threw me. It was like balloons. I mean, it was so puffy and everything that I didn't even know what to do with it. Here are some more classics. This is an early one, 1987, I believe. And I was teaching a class in my home studio. I was challenged to make something good where the attire was black and white. So I showed him how to do it. This is a pop singer, a Christian pop singer, and came in for her promotional work. I had helped her with her first album, and now we're moving forward, and we did these beautiful pictures. Another artist friend I know came for his promo. We did videotape his, so it's here on YouTube, this whole shoot. Very, very cool stuff, and award-winning images, all of these from these different sessions. This one was called Solace. It was the cover of a couple things, magazine and a Polaroid magazine back when it was out. Loved it. Same thing here, PN55, black and white instant film, negative, no longer available. I used it for as long as it was around. Unfortunately, Polaroid went out of business as we know it, so it no longer was around. Simple conductor headshot for his program. And believe it or not, I did this whole thing in less than 5 minutes, color and black and white. Got 2 award-winning pictures out of it because he was a cool guy. It's kind of a humorous shot of a friend and his 2 boys. Super, super talented family. This is a publisher. I wanted to do an image where the attention did not go to his hair. He's always fussing about his hair or lack thereof. And, but he was an important guy, and I needed to render him in a very editorial way. This mother-baby done in the middle of a seminar in my studio. I always shoot live many, many sessions when I'm teaching a 3-day seminar. This one also was done in a seminar. Not the same year, likely, because I did it for 34 years, practically straight, only 1 or 2 breaks. And this was one of the resulting portraits. Regular client, back when the kids were young. They just loved this little nose-to-nose shot. A little bit posy for me, but nevertheless, much loved. This one, this hair shot I love too. One of my models, we were just shooting for testing, and she had this cool outfit, and we just made it as interesting as we could. And it was another award-winning picture, magazine covers. This image was done for my wife's latest album, came out in 2022, and we tried to get, a really simple and clean image. I ended up turning it into not exactly that one, but taking the same time into a real illustration. I had a friend of mine actually draw pencil an image or charcoal an image of it, and then I married it with the color and came up with that resulting image. So thanks everybody for your time, spending your time watching this and just getting a little bit of an overview of my walk in portrait photography. Hopefully it will lead you to do a little more study. And of course, there's so much to learn. And hopefully you'll stay on our YouTube channel so that you can investigate further all these videos.
Well, I hope you found that enjoyable and mostly enlightening, because the images that we've reviewed, there's probably 100 images. There, we were able to give you the inside information of the shoot, the result of that shoot, and a lot of technical information along the way. So we appreciate you staying with us. Thanks so much for watching Master Photo Techniques. We do appreciate it. Stay tuned and be watching for more videos.